Okay, so the hiring room, I have another great guest. I gotta say, it's one of my favorite people that I've recently met, Devin Johnson. Devin, thank you so much for coming on. I know you got a lot happening.
Happy to be here.
Well, awesome. So I'm gonna ask you a question right out of the chute. What do you think 5 years from today? What do you think companies are going to be hiring for that AI is going to fundamentally change?
It's a really interesting question, and it's at the top of a lot of people's minds right now. And for what I'm hypothesizing based on where we are today, roles may look and feel differently based on their skills and abilities, right?
Okay.
And I think if we were to really just think about like what are the most impacted roles today, there's all these different places you can go to kind of get some early signals. But we think about like recruiting, HR ops,
Yeah.
program management, customer support. Those are some of those like roles that have a lot of operational burden. And the roles may exist, but I think fundamentally how they're executed will change. And so that's where you bring in a lot of the soft skill requirements that are going to be necessary, more strategic and critical thinking, which we'll talk a lot about.
Okay. Okay. So what's so interesting about you is that you're one of the few people that I think that I've ever met that is that has really spent some time in this short, right? The short time frame in this AI world. I should say from AI. I just had a conversation with an AI founder, and LLMs has been around for a really long time, since the 70s. But this is the first time it's been like in the last 2 years that it's like mainstream and other people have access to it through chat and those other platforms, obviously not just chat. So you're in the AI workforce development area, and you were that with Amazon for how many years? I mean, Amazon also they're also a leader in this, right?
Right. And it's interesting because so I was there this year would have been 7 years recently having left. But essentially, where we are right now is as we think about how companies are leading the charge now and infusing this in consumer products, right? Like that's kind of the biggest piece that we're seeing. A lot of this has been embedded in products that organizations use or that we might have had some exposure to in a limited way as consumers. But now this is becoming the way of life. And so that is where the big shift is happening. People are trying to figure out at the company level, what do we do? How do we save money? And how do we go further faster? And
Yeah.
reduce our biggest operational expense, which is headcount. But it's really being replaced with data center costs, CapEx costs, and things like that.
So they're swapping the budget from people to these other CapEx budgets that they need.
Exactly. And so, to your point around how that will shape the future, partially only time will tell, but I think the pendulum will swing the other day. I'm coming in with some bold, controversial opinions here.
Bring it. Bring it, Devin. Okay, so tell me about that. What do you mean it's gonna swing in the other direction?
So, yeah, it isn't just changing the jobs, it's changing how the work is designed. And that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier how talent is evaluated, calibrated, and how people gain experience. And so, when we think about what that means, companies are going to wake up one day and recognize wait a minute, what my business flywheel said 5 years ago. I don't have the needs or the mechanics to be able to execute what my business needs now. What we'll start to see is we all know the AI can do the grunt work, the heavy lifting, the work that really none of us want to do
Yeah,
anyway.
the advent, yeah.
But we're also noticing a widening gap between what does actual critical thinking mean, right? Like Gen Z and even millennials to a degree get a lot of flack before, the internet, right? Like the internet makes everything easy. Get off your phones. You're always doing the things, right? But it's like now starting to, we can think of anything and we can pretty much do anything we want with AI now. And it's not can we do it? It's should we do it and how do I do it is the new fundamental question.
Right. So how has the all right, so Amazon's, they've had robots in their distribution plants for a long time. They're expected to do how many other robots? They're like a leader in this type of, replacing the workers kind of a thing. What do you think in your opinion, because you've been at the corporate level, what's your opinion on the career ladder for people? So we talk about critical thinking, we talk about, how is that critical thinking actually learned or formed? Like, where does that start? And there's a couple of questions to this. There's a couple of prongs. So what do we do with this incoming resource as a human to try to get them to be a critical thinker and get them the things that you want to do? Also, I'm understanding that a lot of these bigger companies have a very small budget for retraining and adoption. I heard a number of like 6% out of the budget is dedicated to the people. So what do you think there? I mean, you're in it, man. You are like deep in this. So what are you seeing?
The pendulum is shifting in that regard as well. Like when we train our folks, right now training is kind of stale, right? Like you kind of go take an e-learner, you go do the thing. And a lot of companies are hiring for experience right now. That's the way we've hired traditionally, right? Like, do you have the ability to do the job? And so what I've been spending a lot of time focused on is our career laddering around just across industries. And so AI is automating a lot of that operational work, which is the work that a lot of younger folks use to
Yes.
crack their teeth at getting into the workforce. And
Right.
so companies are going to really have to be thoughtful about that skills architecture and what that means. So it's really imperative to be thinking about that now because everything you do in the future is going to be based off of the skill sets the skill set architecture. So that's why when companies are redesigning their jobs and redesigning their workflows and really understanding that, a lot of it is going to be, I don't know if you remember from back in the day, we used to do like job study analysis and time study analysis on how
Yeah.
much it takes to do in the
Oh yeah.
role. We're
Oh, yeah.
kind of going to be going back to that now because,
But that's like
it's
industrial engineering. I mean, that's what industrial engineering was.
exactly. And so,
The
and
science
that's,
of
and that had a multi ripple effect across industries as new roles were born. And particularly as we think about the technological shift of the early 2000s when we had the internet, right? And that started to become a thing. But the thing I want people to understand, the most important thing right now is to recognize this is no different than that. This is when we had people writing yellow pages, right? Like those people went on to be technical writers
yeah.
when the internet came out and teaching people how to use technology. And when social media came out, right, like we went, marketing was another big industry that was impacted because now we have influencers,
Yeah.
right? When TikTok
Yeah.
and all those folks came out. And now, and ad spend. God, we love ads, right?
No, we don't. I can't believe how much
Just
Zuckerberg makes off
absolute.
freaking ads.
I'm like, I didn't even know half these apps you could do ads.
Oh, they're so expensive.
They're so expensive.
I
Face Meta
know.
has like they are the leader in
Yeah.
ad revenue right now. That's where they
I
get the
was
bulk of their
I worked
money.
I worked a lot of put a lot of time and effort into, like, a marketing funnel that I had to use ads, and I couldn't afford to do the ads after a while because I was like, "This doesn't make there's no I'm not getting the ROI on this."
Exactly,
I
and
know.
it's really become like a crapshoot.
It was like a crapshoot. It just depended on what the algorithm, what they wanted to do with it, who they wanted to see. It was like you created an audience, if you don't know where it's going, it's wild.
Yeah.
It's like a black hole.
It is. And so back to your piece about, the critical thinking and early career folks is I think like the apprenticeship models and AI simulation is going to like be very helpful to developing those skills. One of the things I appreciated about Amazon, we had a leadership principle called think big, and that's really where I got my strategic thinking muscle. Like why are we doing what we're doing? The questions that we ask when launching a project or leading a project, it's who's the audience? Why are we doing this? What's the impact? What's the benefit? And how can we effectively execute this in a scalable and sustainable way? Those are some of the things that folks are going to have to get comfortable with. There's a lot of ambiguity that brings. That was another one. Another leadership principle is navigating the ambiguity. I remember when I first went from into my first program manager role, I had never wanted to do it because it felt like the work could just pile on. I was like, where's the line? As an HRBP, I know this is my swim lane. It starts and stops. So I get this little small piece of the pie. But then as a program manager, it's really, you just don't know what you're going to walk into. But that's the work that I love to do. And I think we're going to start to see more jobs look like that. And it's going to be more consultative. So it's not going to be running the reports. Renee is responsible for running this report and just passing it off to somebody else. We're going to have to really be comfortable in customer facing, translating strategically, understanding the business, understanding in many ways, marketing, legal, tech, all of the needs and being able to synthesize that. And so students in particular, figuring out ways to get experience on in new paths. You have an opportunity to create paths. Everybody, I don't like this nomenclature that is happening around the market right now of AI equals layoffs, it coming for your job. I have to hang on. Sometimes the pivot is the best thing that we can do.
Well, it's very fear-based, right? And I was just on a conversation about AI adoption and it's down and it's fear-based, and so I was talking to this gentleman who runs a company called AI Hello, which is actually an e-commerce, marketing company for Amazon. I don't know if you know who they are, but they optimize the ads basically in Amazon. It's like automated and all that kind of stuff. But we were talking about that, and then we were talking about the AI oligarchs, I call them the oligarchs. And now, yeah, and so he was talking about we were talking about like sphere base. And so if you keep
Yeah.
putting this rhetoric out there, there's a
Yeah.
20% unemployment, you're gonna lose your jobs. What do you think
Yeah.
people are gonna do? They're not gonna adopt. They're gonna
And
go into survival mode,
they're
right?
gonna go in survival mode. They're gonna go into hang on mode. And it's really, and
Yeah.
to be honest, Renee, it
And you
does
do
not need to
yeah,
be like this. It does not need to be like this. You know what the bottom line is?
but
It's messaging and understanding what actually needs to happen. That we are we there's a big critical thinking gap in our even our older generation
yeah,
because again it's becoming more paramount, right? Like because again if you say the smart thing in the room everybody just goes into execution and that's where we spent the bulk of our time, but now there's going to be a lot of, well, why are we doing that? What does that look like? How does that work? What's the ROI? And we're starting to see a lot of people ask those questions.
yeah,
Nobody's afraid of data anymore. You can go get, you go tell
yeah,
have AI tell you the story about data and you can learn so quickly. So you think about your training budgets, I think the pendulum will shift. I think AI will make it more affordable to teach people quickly and for cheaper. But then
probably.
you also have to worry about, is it accurate, right? That's the one piece. Uh, and I think the other side of that is just learning is changing fundamentally. Our attention spans are so short right now with YouTube shorts and the TikToks and everything under a minute, right? You can try to watch a movie. When's the
Talk
last time you
about
watched a movie?
ADD that we're training our brains to be ADD, you know what I mean? But don't you think it's like I mean, I look at there's always been a disconnect between the freaking education system and the
Yeah.
workforce. If they don't start giving kids experiential learning at the
Hmm.
college
Yeah.
level for there's like a job simulation to learn
Hmm.
it and how to implement it, that's when the critical thinking needs to start. So what's happening with that? I don't
Yeah,
know.
so I spend a lot of time talking to universities,
Okay,
students,
tell me.
particularly from like non-traditional backgrounds. And what's happening right now, there's this big disconnect between corporations, schools, and recent grads. Corporations are just focused on figuring out, how do I implement AI? What am I doing with it? Cool. Schools are focused on, hey, I don't really know what to tell students because normally the companies tell me what to teach the students.
Mm.
And then students are in this weird middle gap of, I need the experience to get the job. I don't have the experience to get the job, right? And
It's always
so
been like that.
it's always been like that, but now it's even more paramount because that is changing. Companies are also, because we're in this contracting phase, companies are not hiring in the way they want you to be able to come in, hit the ground running, because that's the other thing. The bar is shifting too, right? Like there's periods in our economy and job market where companies are willing to hire and bring in people, right? And then sometimes when they contract, when we are right now, I need somebody that can just come in and do the work.
True.
But what we're missing out on is that piece. We're not thinking about this early career talents. So anyway, so that being said, I think that is the critical fundamental gap between education and companies. They're not talking, companies don't know what they need because again, they are focused just on they're laying people off. They're not thinking about job architecture. They're not thinking about future of work. They're not thinking about their business, even from a business flywheel perspective. How companies are thinking about revenue right now is taking up more market space and share, and then also reducing costs. That's a very quick way to make your bottom line be bigger. However, what we're not thinking about is the 75 million jobs that AI is estimated to create over the next 10 years, right? How do you think that's going to come about?
Yeah, I don't know. Who's gonna do who's gonna do the like, self-training? I mean, I don't know.
This is where the critical thinking comes in. And this is where the strategic thinking comes in. Companies need to now, my advice to a CEO, if they
Ugh.
were right now looking, what do I need to do to be
Which is one of my
prepared?
questions. I asked you this, yeah.
What do I
What
need to do to
workforce
be
decisions
prepared?
did they do? Yeah, to repair. Because the thing too, Devin, is it's moving so fast. So here's the thing, because 'cause I'm an old owl compared to you. You're a beautiful young man, and I'm a semi-beautiful old lady, right? So it moves so fast. I've never seen anything move at the velocity that I'm seeing. That to me is a really big change out of everyone's analogies like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's like the tractor. Oh, it's like 2011. Oh, it's like that." Yeah, but I've never seen anything move as quick as this moves. And so the
It's all of
companies
that compounded. We've been
yeah.
moving faster slowly, we've
So
been
you
slowly moving faster.
yeah, but now it's like it's just like it's here, it is like and you're not putting the genie back in the bottle. Genie ain't going back in the
Mhm.
bottle.
Mm-mm,
And
mm-mm.
so to your point, there so you have this this University of Illinois great grad comes out, Berkeley, wherever you're in California. Anyway, I'm in Illinois, they come out and you're like, "Oh, I have this finance degree. Oh, I have an engineering degree." And you're just like, "Okay, but what you can actually do, I don't really need anymore. So I need you to be verbal, I need you to have good communication skills, better soft skills, critical thinking, come and like figure things out." And so what they're preparing for in the schools is not really the skills that they're hiring for. So there's this huge like gap. And I was just talking to this one guy about, look, people are going to have to just be better communicators. They're going to have like be able to sell and persuade. And do you know how many people, Devin, do not have that skill set?
What do you think that is?
I think there's an inherent personality that's you're built with. I think there's a natural birth personality that you're like you and I. You and I just kind of, if I can put ourselves as like kind of engaging and good storytellers. I mean, yes, I learned some of that stuff as I went along the way, but I inherently sort of had that. Do you know what I mean? It was
Mhm.
kind of a skill that I just built upon. And I'm sure you were an engaging young kid. I'm sure, maybe, were you?
I was. I
Yeah,
was.
weren't you
I
kind of
feel
like
like
an engaging young man? You know how many brilliant people you know that aren't, like all the extroverts and
yeah,
introverts in the world?
but here's the thing, I think, like, even that our thinking around that is gonna shift. I've always been a believer is you can do anything you want to do. It just depends on if you willing to learn it. Are you willing to put the work in? Are you willing to do the thing? Some people don't wanna do that, and that's not to say you need to be engaging in order to be successful. No. That is they're not equal.
Strategic thinking could be you don't have to be a personality type to be a strategic
Exactly.
thinker, to your point, yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
we
I
need all
agree
kind
with
of
that.
people, so
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes I'm a personality hire, I'm just but no, we need all kind of folks though. And so, I think, when we think about CEOs today and preparing for tomorrow, the biggest thing is to think about instead of just this, what everybody else is doing is focusing on what can I cut now, is also what do I have everything to gain? What do I have to gain? And so, what are the things in the market right now? What are the gaps in the market that companies can solve? See, that's the thing. We expect like me, little old Renee, it is hard for us to become entrants in the market because why? We don't have a ton of capital to lean on,
Yeah,
right?
capital the just resources.
We need to switch that model. Companies like The Thing, our retails companies, they have a lot more cash to be able to go find and create new markets, right? And so that's what I would be encouraging companies and CEOs to do is think about what are the areas of the market that we know will exist or even but that don't exist today and how can you penetrate that market? Because then while that allows other people to enter already established markets, you may decide to pull out of that market. But it's easier for smaller businesses or individuals to come into those already established markets. Are you following me here?
Yeah, and I think what people don't understand, which is interesting, is like 95% of the businesses in America are small businesses,
Yeah.
smaller
Yeah.
market.
Hmm.
We see all of the hoopla of the big ones.
Hmm.
But let me tell you something. I've got clients that still write checks and don't use ACH. I've got
Wow.
clients that don't it's you come from such a big world, you're like, "What?" They don't have the time or the resources to pivot in the moment because
Hmm.
they're delivering.
Yeah.
So that's the big problem. Then you get a
And they
consultant.
can't scale.
No, they can't scale. They get somebody come in, they're like, "How much do you cost to you're an AI expert, you're gonna come automate, how much do you cost?" And then they don't have the capital to do it, so they kinda stay stuck, make kind of like trudging along. That's been like that since the dawn of time. And I mean, if you can't even get like simple financial systems implemented, how are they gonna they don't even have a workflow written down. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Mhm.
I work
Yeah.
with businesses all the time. They don't
Because
have
they're surviving, they're moving, they're delivering,
they don't
they're
think
building.
about they usually have terrible
Yeah.
infrastructures, and
Yeah.
usually the owner or the founder is just really good at what they do,
Hmm.
and they can deliver the work. They deliver the work consistently, but the infrastructure always and usually is the holdback of the business. It's not structured right, or they go really quick and the infrastructure never catches up, and then you have to try to unravel it, and and it's costly. But at the end of the day, it always goes back to resources, whether it's capital or
Yeah.
people or what. It's always goes back to resources. So that's what I think to
Yeah.
be really interesting when you think about. I was at the dentist the other day, and I was just I was, like, looking at what the girls were doing, and I saw these checks from dental whatever, insurance companies, and I was like, "You're still getting reimbursements through checks?" They're like, "Oh, yeah." I'm like, "They're coming through the mail?" You think about that, Devin. Think
Yeah.
about that.
I mean, that's how, like, that's
Oh,
cost savings.
great. Well, let's flow.
Don't you hate when you get these, like, ads or things, bills in the mail? Like, do you still get some bills in the mail? Some companies will still do that, and I'm like, if you just, like, put that
What are
online,
you
you could
doing?
probably increase your bottom line so much more just by doing that little thing. But that's the point that you're bringing up, and I wanna, I
Is
think
this
just
slow
message to the
adoption in
a message to the
general?
small business folks too,
Yeah.
is sometimes you have to slow down in order to go fast.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Like one of the things I think is important is if you want to the point of you cannot scale and you're constricted and restricted, we also have to look at that too. Like where can we be more efficient? Where can we make, and a lot of this stuff is relatively low cost
Yeah.
too.
Well,
You
it is
don't have to
now
go get the
compared
big
to it was
fancy
years
POS
ago.
system.
Yeah, no.
You don't have to go get the POS system. You could just go get you something and get you a mid-tier thing, right? Like I built my whole consulting website through AI. I paid a little bit of money up front, turned it off when it was done, right? And so, but now that's living and it goes on and it's created a new entry point for me to reach people, right? So
Right.
I would encourage companies to again, that is what all strategic thinking is versus being so focused on the here and now. Take a few minutes to take a beat, pause, and figure out where you can expand.
Yeah, I think sometimes they're so lost, I don't know where to begin. I think they get so paralyzed by their perceived complexity of what AI is and what it can do. And then there's a lot of confusion when you go out on LinkedIn. I call it LinkedIn exhaustion. There's a lot of people that claim a lot of stuff because anyone can hang a shingle that really aren't qualified. So
Yeah, for sure.
then you have that whole process of trying to get it, how do you get through the qualifications? Everyone's an expert.
Yeah, I
Everyone
don't that
yeah, I see
and
these
that
things.
dilutes my page. Like, I don't even wanna post, and I feel like 'cause I'm gonna be lumped in one of those things, everybody's an expert. Like, who actually has the credentials to do these things? By the way, I do, but now there's all of these people,
I
FYI,
I I
but
don't.
but here's the thing. I think we need to separate like true like this is the value add from like this is what my opinion is. And by the way, it's kind of all rooted in that. That's the difference between AI. There's not it's not it's either theory or opinion. And either way, it's not does not have to be your reality. And so I think I love this saying, take what you can use and leave the rest. I'm all
Yeah,
about figuring out what can I do within the constraints that I have versus what everything is just closing in. I'm just going to stand still. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just take that small step. And so as we think about these very annoying posts and also LinkedIn is turning to Facebook. I said it. I said it.
I know. Just like I don't know. I'm so over it. It's terrible. I need to like it. I need to let it pass through me because, yeah, it's super frustrating. And some of the people that are like go viral, they say they just have a big following they got the big following when you were easier to get with the algorithms, when it was easier to acquire people. And then the stuff they write is like, okay, this isn't interesting. This is crazy. No, it is getting like Facebook. It definitely is getting like Facebook. I've got a couple of people I know.
I'm like, why are you telling me about this random thing that happened to your neighbor?
Yeah, I have a couple actually friends of not friends of mine, acquaintances I know that have gotten really personal on LinkedIn. I'm like, how do I tell them not to post it without insulting them?
Hmm.
There's one person that's in business and she kind of does these. Oh my gosh, I was just listening to it. Anyway, she won who she is. Like sexy poses. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like and like in the bathrooms and like weird things like sexy poses. And I'm just like,
LinkedIn
what?
dating is a thing. People be sliding each other's DMs on there.
That's what I wasn't getting. You see, I've been married for 37 years. But from a professional
Wait,
female,
pause. Did you say you've been married for 37 years? Clock that T. Go ahead, Renee.
37 years, the same old man. I went to I was at the HRA, the Human Resource Association in Chicago, and they wanted to do they have a mentoring thing, and they said, "Renee, would you be a mentor to somebody?" I said, "Yeah." And then they said, "Well, I just want to give you a heads up. You're going to be paired with somebody who was a mentor, who's like an older, seasoned gentleman that needs some career help." And I'm just like, "Where's my young person? I don't. So my I don't want to. I don't want to mentor an old guy. I don't want to." Anyway, he didn't show up, so I ended up getting this young 30-year-old girl. I was like, "Yes!" I was so excited. I was telling my husband, "I don't need another old man I have to talk to, forget it," but it was kinda fun. That's just a sidebar. Anyway, so yeah, so I didn't know about the LinkedIn dating, but it sort of makes sense now that you're kind of bringing it to light, so
Mhm.
that's super interesting. Yeah, I don't know what's going on out there. It's fatigue. It's a fatiguing for me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's,
fatiguing.
this whole thing, Renee, though, I think there's themes here, and I think we just have to slow down and pull them out. There's not really a lot of direction. We're not getting a lot of direction from one single source. It's everybody just laying on top of each other, and that is why people are paralyzed, whether you're self-employed, whether you're an employee on W-2, whether you're trying to figure out what to pivot into. There's a
Yeah,
lot of confusion right now. And I think we need to the other thing about learning that is gonna change is and this is also something we have to be confident about in ourselves,
yeah.
is frameworks are gonna be big, right? And that's where that high judgment, decision making, strategic thinking will come in at, right? Like you're not going to have all these cases because as we get more and more expanded, there's gonna be more and more possibilities that we just have never encountered before.
I mean, frameworks have always been around.
Frameworks have always been around. However, they've been concentrated in certain areas, right? Like,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
entry level jobs, you're not talking about a framework.
No,
You're
and you
talking
know what
about
else?
following a S.
Let's talk about the hiring process, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Which really has never has a really had a good framework. There actually don't even exist in small businesses. There is no strategy at all. You know me, I always wanted to go and teach it, but I realized no one really thinks they have a problem, which is wild to me. So, if they're not hiring, they don't care about it. Well, I'm not doing this right now. What do I give a shit about it? So let's talk about because you're in retail now. You're working for Nordstrom's, you're in retail, and my understanding is that's been a really big AI area in interviewing, like the self video interviewing, the bot
Yeah.
interviewing, this whole thing.
Yeah.
Do tell, what is happening with this, and how is it
Yeah.
being perceived? Because it's you see you see the hate chatter on LinkedIn?
Mm.
If
I
I
missed that. I missed that. Tell me about it.
what?
Yeah.
My god, they hate it. They hate self video interviewing, they hate the bot thing.
Yeah.
They're getting ghosted, no one's giving any feedback, they
Mm.
feel diminished as human beings. I mean, people have always felt that way in interviewing if they don't get selected, let's just say
Yeah.
it, and follow-up always been shitty in the corporate side of things because 'cause they've got so much they're over I always try to tell people, "Give the recruiters a little bit of a break." Everyone blames the bottom recruit like the
Yeah.
bottom person. They have too many recs for what they can handle. And
Mhm.
so they can't get to everything. And then if they, then if they it's kinda damned if you do, damned if you don't. Then if they do send like a canned, you know,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
mail, then the people are upset, but then they're upset if they don't get anything at all. So it's like you can't make anybody happy. Yeah, there's a look for it. There's a lot of pushback on this.
I've seen it from that perspective, and that's the age old adage, which is like, I went into this black hole. I want to hear something. At least tell me I didn't get the job. But honestly, I think it's even beyond that. At this point, companies are posting. I always say context is king, first of all. And so what we see now that's happening, these Fortune publicly traded companies, they respond to Wall Street. And so they have to look like they are doing certain things in order to be investable and blah, blah, blah.
Good
And
point.
so what happens is ghost recs are being put up. Sometimes they're hiring internally. Sometimes the change in direction, they close the rec because they don't have the money to fund the rec. And so what I encourage from a job seeker side is don't take that personal, right? At the end of the day, like what happened, happened. Easier said than done, I know. But what happened, happened. And instead of the energy that you're spending being pissed off about a company that rejected you, to be honest, I feel like you're one step closer to the where you're supposed to be. And on that front, I'll say on the company side, it takes a few seconds to put in a system to just send an auto declination, right? Like spend a couple minutes working with your tech team and figure out how can you get Workday or
Yeah.
iSIMS if people still use that or Taleo. an
Mayo.
automated
That's an
thing.
old
Remember
one.
Taleo?
Yeah, I
Remember
do.
Taleo back in the day? I don't think he was still around. I don't know. But
I don't know. Who knows?
anyway,
There's so much
whatever your ATS
that
is, and these ATS companies, and this even works for like small businesses because now they're putting, Indeed has this AI hiring thing going on. A lot of these companies are starting to do it. So at some point soon, it is going to be no excuse to why you can't communicate with a candidate. I think that's the overall message. People just want to know where they stand,
well, I think it's
and
on both sides
it's on
because
both sides.
but there's this big thing where if I see from internal companies, if I see another AI generated resume to try to trip up the AI ranking, I'm not going to take them seriously. Okay, but you're using AI to get them, and then they're like,
You
okay, and so they're trying to trip. They're trying
trip
to
each
trick
other
the system. Yeah, to get it's
to
so
get what?
crazy.
It's
Yeah,
chaos.
I know it's crazy. And the crazy thing is this is me from being a real recruiter, and you're really only getting inbound people. You're not even talking
Yeah.
about the outbound strategy. I
Yeah,
mean, you're
yeah.
not even talking
Post
about
and
the
pray is what we used to call it. Post and pray.
it is post and pray, and if you don't get anything, then you gotta try to figure out how to do, how to do a
Mhm.
process, which I'm working on one of those. I'll have to tell you about that. But so yeah, so it's a little bit of a mess out there, and people aren't happy about it. Now the thing I always tell people they get so worked up of like, I was perfect for the job. Why didn't I get the job? And I was like, it's always the competition that you don't know about. You're never gonna know. They're never gonna take time to sit there and tell you. There's probably some legal risk in doing it, so they're not gonna do it from that perspective, but there's always someone that's competing with you that's a mystery person. It's like, who's behind closed door number 3? If it's not a ghost, if it's not a fake ad, let's assume it's a real ad, right? And so you never know who your competition is. That's always the hard part about beating the competition because you don't know it. It's nothing
You
you can do
also
about
don't
it.
know you also don't know who has somebody's ear. Like, come on, we know these politics are also a thing as well.
Of
And
course.
again, I say to people, especially when opportunities are tight, it becomes even more political. And that's why it's important for companies to have integrity and value because you can end up shooting yourself in the foot versus, you go on with the person you think you know and you think would be good versus going with the person that you taking the chance on the person that is actually good and credible in the role. And that's why I encourage candidates. It is you can I would encourage people to have, if you are experienced and you have media experience, it's about how you tell the story. And it's also
It's a
about
story.
how you are positioning yourself. The resume gets you in the door. What keeps you at the table is how you are packaging and telling your story there as well. And so, what I encourage people to do is don't focus on what didn't work out. Spend that same energy focusing on your strategy. I keep saying that word because I want people to know it is now becoming a strategic operation to find a job.
It's
You
always
needing
been a strategy.
I think people before though, especially if you bifurcate the industries, people are used to going on LinkedIn or not LinkedIn, excuse me, Indeed, and being able to you can go get a job right there today. Now, these are more operational, hourly, like quick in, quick out.
Yeah.
Now, if we're talking about corporate roles, I think, people tend to follow a ladder and they tend to, if they stay with the same company. And I think if you pivot, that's where we spend a lot of our strategic time now. But I think the market as a whole, you're going to have to be strategic and have a working backwards plan for finding a role. Because in order to preserve your mental health, continue to be resilient, and actually see some results. You can't just throw spaghetti at a wall and hope it sticks anymore. You can, but you're gonna have a lot of bumps and bruises.
You need a lot of spaghetti?
Hmm.
You need to throw a lot of spaghetti?
For
Alright, so
sure.
let's
And I
talk
want that spaghetti. I love
you want that
pasta.
spaghetti? Let's talk about what's going on with retail because retail, is was one of the I think, front with using this AI video interview or the automated interview because they're hiring, hourly people, right?
Hmm.
Restaurants, they may be bigger restaurant groups and
Mm.
really retail, like you guys, Nordstrom's, Target. What are you seeing? Like, what do you guys do? Can you share?
Yes. So right now we are very early in our AI strategy right now as far as it relates to our hiring, high volume hiring is what you're also referring to,
Yes, I am.
which are those hourly roles and the roles that we see a lot of. And so we're figuring it out. But the one thing I will say as it relates to Nordstrom, it's not, we're not trying to lead the way in this AI technical race, right? Like a lot of that's the difference between these tech companies is they're trying to beat each other at their own game. Where
They think
That's
that they
not the
have to
right
get they
strategy.
think they have to get to the finish line first, yeah.
And there is no finish line because it's once that line is drawn and you
There's
cross
no
it, and
line.
then there's going to be another thing. By the way, ask yourself about your values too. That's an interesting story. But
What values?
as
The AI oligarchs don't have values.
so
They call them oligarchs. Is that how that's how
So one of the things I think with retail broadly, the question that companies are trying to ask in the retail space is how do I hire at scale? So they're trying to solve that is the ultimate problem they're trying to solve. However, comma, what is the lowest hanging fruit opportunity that gets me that?
I love the comma.
You know?
Someone who
You know?
speaks into his phone all the time. We'll have a comma,
Oh yeah.
exclamation point, smiley face, F you, WTF. That's so funny. 'Cause that's me, I'm talking my phone, comma, exclamation point, space.
Period.
Oh my
So
god, that's
but yeah,
hilarious.
like I feel like
You're a
that is
trip.
the thread that they're trying to solve is like AI is the lowest hanging fruit opportunity. How do we implement that? And it's not again execution mode. We go straight to okay, I solved this thing that can work. Let me just go straight to execution, fastest, cheapest, and as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Like that's not always the right case because what is also on the rise is candidate experience. Our money is our voting power.
Thank God no one cares about the candidate experience, it seems like. The
And
crazy thing
until
about
they realize they
retail
can't recruit.
Well, the crazy thing about retail, though, if you think about it, every person they recruit's a client. It's so different than, like, an enterprise company, right? Because every person that goes through your experience in hiring that sucks are like, "I'm not gonna shop at Nordstrom's." You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a double-edged sword. But are they having a problem finding people? Is there not enough people to do those types of jobs?
In retail?
Mhm.
I think there is, and this I'm just speaking broad retail industry. I think there's a lot of people that there are the volume is there. People are there. Bodies are there to do the
Okay.
work. But I think what is shifting is people don't want to do the work. They don't want to work for
Well,
8.25
that's
an
what I'm
hour.
saying.
And they don't want like what is it? And the one thing I will say, like
Is that what it
companies
is? Is it $8.25 an
companies
hour? Is that what
I
it
don't know.
is?
I'm just talking. I don't know, but I'm not in the recruiting space anymore, but I think like it's how you treat your people that matters the most. And
Yeah.
so the thing that I will say in my experience with retail industries, I look at Walmart or I look at like a
Let's ask.
Target or
Let's ask
something like
Chat.
that.
How much do they pay?
You have to have an emphasis on keeping and retaining and developing your people.
Right.
Right? Like the people, some people, yes, they just want a job to do the thing. But I think people are more aware between this being connected and seeing connected across the internet, the type of other lives that people can live. And so their imagination is bigger. And so their desires are bigger. And so I think people, what they thought they couldn't have or thought didn't exist, they're starting to see it. And now they want to know how to get there, how to do that, how to achieve the thing. And companies have an opportunity to retain talent by investing in them, developing their skill sets, and bringing them up and elevating them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's also cheaper in the long run. Just tune over.
Versus it's always cheap. It's always more expensive being cheap.
Yeah. You should make some T-shirts on that. Let me ask ChatGPT about the ready? Hey,
I love how
chat.
we're using AI.
Hey, chat, comma, exclamation point. Update required. Go below. What? I'm gonna do that. Hey, chat, what does Nordstrom pay hourly in California? What's the hourly rate? Let me see what it says. Searching the web. Depends on the role. You're generally looking at around typical sales floor role at Nordstrom. You're generally looking around $18 to $20 per hour. Base in California right now. Sales associates, retail sales, 18 to 21. That's not bad.
Nordstrom is the leader in a lot of these spaces.
That's
And
not bad.
so I think if we look at
What
like
does Walmart
other
pay?
companies, that's what I'm saying. Like if we, did you know this about Nordstrom? They actually had before any of these like federal laws were required of like leave and all of this kind of stuff, they were already offering their employees that in the 70s.
Really?
Hmm.
It's saying about the same. There must be a California law for it.
I mean, yeah, a lot of states have adapted, but I mean, federal minimum wage is still 7.25 an hour. Did you know that?
No, no. You couldn't buy beans.
You can't even buy a gallon of gas for 7.25 in some states.
Oh my gosh. I don't
So,
know. I don't know, dude.
yeah,
It's crazy. It is so crazy. Okay. So I like this because it's making me happy because you're like, you seem to be very optimistic
yeah,
about the workforce. So you're not thinking, okay, so I have to ask you this because you are one of the few guys I know that I think really understands AI in the workforce. People think they do, but you've been in it since the
yeah,
beginning. If there is
yeah,
an expert out there, because it hasn't been
yeah.
around that long,
Right.
what do you think about this Armageddon rhetoric out there with the AI companies of 15 to 20% unemployment that's around the corner for a while? Because, if there's 20% unemployment, my friend, there's going to be riots in the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
What are
what
we
was
at right
the
now?
Great
Do you know
Depression? What was
what
the
the
great
unemployment rate is right now?
14.2, 14, 4.25 is very low. It's pretty low.
And we're also, I heard that we're starting to see the pendulum swing the other way in some capacity as far as hiring. So hopefully that comes down. I know our reporting is a little wonky right now with our
Yeah, who knows
government.
what that yeah,
Who knows what the real
that's
thing
the other
is?
thing. What the data
Hmm.
is being manipulated.
Yeah.
Let me ask this. Let me ask chat this. Hold on. Chat, what was the unemployment rate during the Great Depression?
Look.
25%.
So that's context, right?
That
Like
is
people just hear
context.
people hear
That is context,
4%,
Devin.
and they're like, "Oh my god." But I think the average unemployment rate, like, if we look at the average, like, what good is, I think it's somewhere between, like, 2 and 4%, actually.
Yeah,
It's somewhere between there,
pretty good.
like,
I
is
think it's I
typically
think
what
it's
it is.
holding.
Yeah, yeah, we're definitely in a holding pattern right now, and I think over the next, like, 18 months, we'll start to see a tick up, which is odd, right? Because you hear a lot of people, like, losing their jobs and consumer spending and all of that kinda stuff,
I
so
think
I
it's
think
in
it is
po
it's
I think
industry.
it's in pockets though.
It's yeah,
I don't
exactly. It's
think
like
it's
a lot of
across
our
the
public
board.
service, stuff like that is a big one.
I think
And
during 2008 now, were you too young to be in 2008?
I was conscious.
Oh, hold on. What was the employment rate in 2008? I think it's around 8%. Let's see. So here's the deal. Ready? 2007, 4.6 before the percent. When I was in recruiting in 2007, it was
Mhm,
a windfall. We were making
mm,
so much money. So it was right before the recession, it was 4.6. And then all of a sudden, it was literally within months, we were like, what's happening? It was weird. It was happening. It changed. We didn't see the change coming. It was very quickly. 2008, 5.8. And they were doing hiring freezes at that point. 2008, end of 2008, 7.3. 2009 peak was 10%. And then 2010, it stayed around 9 to 10% for much of the year. I
mm,
was in staffing and recruiting very heavily because I had a big firm back then. And I did not see the light really start seeing the light till 2013. It
okay,
was very long. It was a very long set. But okay, we're talking this is 10%. We're talking 20 to 25%.
right.
We're talking like
Yeah.
breadlines. Like, you know what I'm saying? We're talking riots in the street here. This would be a disaster if that actually happened. So they need to slow it so people that's the thing I worry about this velocity because if we can slow the roll where things start to catch up, that won't happen. The adoption, the process should
That's
be
one of
able
the things, but I feel like we're just kicking the can down the road with that. And honestly, what it really needs to be is we need a safe source to figure out how to implement this effectively across industries.
but do you think they care? Do you think the big dogs care?
Obviously, they don't care. That's not the question. But they would. But what's going to make them care, to your point about the Armageddon, is at the end of the
No one's
day,
gonna be there to buy
is
your products.
is humans, are ethics, leadership, all of the things that we care about, to your point, care. Do they care? Trust building, ambiguity. That is where culture, right? Like that is where humans will still win, whether it be on the customer side or just more importantly on the job and the employee side. Right.
Yeah,
Like that is what is going to root us and ground us. And then I just want to sum this piece up too. The adaptability versus experience is like that experience matters when it comes to judgment, being able to pattern recognize and, all of that
sure.
fun stuff. But like adaptability is what is the most critical skill right now for us as job seekers out there. Right. And so that is what puts us a stronger predictor than static experience, and companies aren't there yet. And so I think they will care when they're forced to care, but we really need to move the needle on being looking further down the line versus what's right in front of us. Because Renee, honestly, you said earlier, you were like, companies, small businesses don't have the capacity to really think further down the line because they're just trying to go through the day to day. Big companies are no different because they're focused on this quarter.
Well, you know what? We talked about that. They're so focused on right now, it's kinda crazy.
So what's the
It is
difference between a small and a big
you're
business?
right.
Y'all both making the same mistakes.
And it's cr I know, and it's crazy because you wouldn't think I mean, even when I see the market swing, so if you like, I own NVIDIA, who doesn't own NVIDIA? And NVIDIA, like, I remember one time they surpassed their forecast,
Hmm.
but they didn't
Like last
surpass
year or something, right?
they surpassed it, but not quite enough as people thought they might so their stock went down in a moment after they
Hmm.
surpassed the forecast. This is crazy. Like, what? Like, you can't win with this stuff. This is bananas. I'm just like, what is he supposed to do? Actually surpass his forecast, and you're still so what is the value of these stocks? Are they I don't even know what they are. It's all but like
Ran
I
by
think some of
people.
the shit is so inflated, dude. It's so inflated. That's what I'm worried about.
Ran by
I'm worried about
people.
the AI crash because it's so inflated.
Yeah.
ChatGPT is
Yeah.
worth $8 trillion, but they haven't I don't think they're profitable, and they have to keep raising money to keep going, and I'm like,
These
here's a
data centers are costly.
word to self on their IPO. I'm not buying on their IPO. I'm gonna wait to see how the thing settles down.
Yeah.
People are gonna be running and that IPO is gonna inflate like crazy, and I'm like, "I'm gonna wait till that comes down, and then I may do it because there's trading the earnings trading is supposedly, like, crazy bananas. It makes no financial sense at all what the how many exits trading at, like, this like, it makes no sense. It's kinda crazy out there right now. But what I
It
love
is
to hear
crazy.
is you in the front end of this workplace AI, strategy and development, you seem like you're pretty optimistic, which makes me kinda happy.
Think when you look at it like that, like from the
Personally.
financial side with when you look at it like that on the financial side, I
Yeah.
would agree with you. I'm a little bit more cautious when it comes to AI and investing in that space because that's tech, right? Like we've seen the tech bubble pop. We've seen these companies are giving out these fat packages. You're graduating from Berkeley and making $1.5 million
Oh, I'm
dollars with
real off.
stock options. You know what I'm saying? Like, good
Yeah,
for you.
good for you, but
Yeah, but
does it make
also
sense for the stockholders?
it doesn't make sense for the company. Again,
Are you
experience
really that good? The CEO salaries and stuff and see what they made. I'm like,
blows my mind.
are you
That
really
blows
that
my mind.
valuable? Because this one person
When
that
does it stop?
I don't know, dude. I don't know,
When
but
does it
the
stop?
wealth gap is getting
Yeah.
the wealth gap is getting bigger. It's getting a bigger gap.
I'm like, how
It's
much do
very
we need to
interesting.
have? And it just makes everything else more expensive. Have you thought about that?
I know, how much do you have to have? I know, it is so crazy, striving for wealth and all this baloney. I don't know, I can't even look at some of these people anymore, and I'm a capitalist, man, I'm a capitalist, I'm all about effort
Come
in,
get this
effort out,
money.
like
Yes.
yeah,
Right.
but you have to do with you have to nothing has any value if it's not done with integrity and for the greater good. I don't wanna live like that. I'm not selling my soul. I'm not selling my soul to the devil, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Because you got to pay for that.
Yeah,
A
there's no
lot of
free
people gonna
lunch.
have a lot of stuff to pay for soon.
I think so. I don't really know. It's interesting. So, what else do you want I know I've kept you, you have to get going, but what anything else that you wanna chat about? Because I could chat with you all day long. And this is without a glass of wine.
I feel like I just to sum up some of this stuff, we've talked a little bit about why people resist, right? Like between the fear of the job loss, looking incompetent, loss of
Yeah.
identity. A lot of people put their identity in their job. That's
Yes.
a bigger conversation, right?
Yes.
But I
Yeah.
think, between the ethical sides of this work, like surveillance, companies using AI to track you and what you're doing and all of that, lack of clarity. I think the biggest thing for companies to understand and the most value is spend time understanding your vision at the C-suite level. What do we want to say at the end of 5 years or 10 years or whatever it is that AI has made an impact on our business? What are the key areas? Be clear about those areas and then start with a clear outcome of what we want to achieve and then work backwards from that, right? And spend time in that planning phase and asking some of those questions around. And I'm a big fan of pilots and talking to employees and just getting in front of it. What is on top of your mind? What can we do to make
Yeah.
you, like what can we do, right? And that's I think the biggest thing is.
You spend a
So
lot of time employee facing in this role?
yeah, yeah. So I think right now I'm drinking from a fire hose. It's been a month, but in my role at Amazon, it was a lot of that. So I sat at the intersection of employee experience and I had added on the AI work. And so essentially I already had a lot of the data and a lot of the conversations to just understand like what was Amazon and doing good, bad, and ugly, working with the VPs and leadership to think about what are the things that we can actually solve, what do we want to solve, and then when AI came into the fold, like that was a lot of the precipice for some of that work. And so again, you see one company, you see like one industry tech, how they're handling AI. So all of these other companies that are outside of you have that opportunity to really set the stage and the foundation for what your story will be. Because people will
Yeah.
remember and they
Yeah.
will spend their voting power appropriately. We are more conscious, we're more aware. I mean, from a sustainability perspective, companies need to be thinking about that because this has a lot of issues with environments, particularly in Black and Brown communities, marginalized communities, economically depressed communities, rural communities.
It's going
And
out the
so
window. They're building these big data
you,
centers and they don't
you,
care.
you
They're just
need to think about this. Have you heard about the Kevin O'Leary data center that's being built in Utah?
no, tell me.
It's like it's worth like 4 atom-sized bombs is how much electricity it's gonna produce, and it's gonna consume so much water, and it's, like, really bad for the environment, so, like, right now, there's a whole bunch of political things happening in that space to try to by the residents because it's going to obviously not be good for their drinking water and all of this kinda stuff. So,
Yeah, so
I
what did
think
all
it's
this reverse? Why is well, let's talk about the person in the office maybe, but
yeah.
this happened in Texas too. There was a big data center and there was methylene gas
Mhm.
leaking into a
Yeah.
community, and it was a poor community, and no one cared.
No one cared. It didn't
Nobody
make the news
cared.
press. There's so much going on in the news
People are
right
getting
now.
sick. Nobody
It's
cared.
so much going on, it's hard
Because
to
they
even pay
give the
attention to.
community so much money that they don't stop it. So you go to a poor community, there's no money, and they're like, "We're gonna give you millions of dollars to build this data center." They're like, "Oh, we can build some parks, we can do this, we can do that, we can put some and then all of a sudden you're gonna get sick. They
And
don't care.
also, you have to and that's what,
We need some
I think right now we need to be
guardrails on this.
more even as like, and that's part of our federal government too, right? Like, what are we doing at the federal level
It
to
is.
institute safety, security, and ethical responsible use of AI?
Here,
Exactly. Yeah.
here's what's happening.
So
Nothing.
I want people to walk away knowing that it's we are what we call the messy middle right now in just all aspects of this,
But
right? Like
people need to talk about it because when the midterms come, when the voting needs to happen again, they need to understand what this is.
civic responsibility, get involved.
They do. They need to get involved, and you need to because the only way this is going to get stopped or minimized is through legislature. It's the only way it's going to happen.
Unless we have that Armageddon. People are gonna be
Then
riding in the streets.
that's exactly what would happen. People would be
Yeah,
rioting in the street. That's it's going to be either that. So if they don't put the
yeah.
guardrails in, and they don't start thinking about these things, don't get the right legislator to protect the people against these guys who think they can do whatever they want to do. That's
Mhm.
what would happen when people get desperate. That's what people
Yeah,
do. Because they've got
yeah.
nothing to lose. I'm hopeless, I've got nothing to do. Devin Johnson, part 2 down the road here. I think we're gonna have you come on, twice a year so we can see what happened 6 months later, what's gonna 'cause
Oh,
that's
yeah.
that's how fast this thing is moving, man. It's moving
Yeah.
super fast. So,
It's
I
moving
so
very
appreciate
fast.
you. I'm so glad we found each other.
Yeah.
And looking sharp as always. You're like my fashion idol. Like my fashion idol. Just so people know, I said tell him he looked like Lenny Kravitz when I first met him, and he was like, "Me? Me? Just me? Of course not."
Imma put that on a T-shirt. I
Renee
wouldn't mind looking like
Renee
Lenny
Beckman,
Kravitz.
nobody
He
knows you,
looks
but
great.
Renee
Have y'all
Beckman
seen him? Google him if you haven't.
okay, I love it. All right, well, we'll talk soon, but I really appreciate you coming down the hiring room. You're awesome.
Cool. Great to be here.
Okay,
Peace.
thanks. Bye. Thanks for joining me in the hiring room. If you like the podcast, please subscribe below and share this episode with someone you think that would benefit from it. We're always looking for good people to interview. So if you have a referral, comment below, or you can email me at renee@mseedinc.com. Thanks. Till next time.